To Germany now, where the Chancellor is facing criticism over recent comments about migration. Friedrich Merz was speaking about alleged problems in Germany's cities at a news conference. Here is what he said. Of course, we still have this problem in our urban spaces, and that is why the Interior Minister is now working on enabling and carrying out deportations on a very wide scale. His words have sparked outrage both from opposition politicians and some within his own party, as well as sections of the German public.
A spontaneous demonstration outside of Friedrich Merz's CDU party headquarters in protest against the Chancellor's controversial comments. Among those taking part, many women, left-wing activists and opposition politicians. Within the CDU, support for the party leader's words remains strong, but no longer universal.
There are, of course, many places where the look and feel of a city is unsettling, but to imply that deportations would change that is simplistic, raises unrealistic expectations, and fails to reflect the complexity of the issue.
The Social Democrats, the Chancellor's coalition partners, even accuse Merz of dividing the country.
When I think what this must feel like for people who have come here from elsewhere, whose parents came here, who aren't white or who look different from Friedrich Merz, and who now find themselves being stared at because even the Chancellor has raised the issue, it's not a pleasant feeling. I think we should avoid that.
Across central Berlin, the tone of Merz's words has left many uneasy.
The migrants aren't the ones shaping the cityscape and putting up all the construction sites and stuff like that. So that's just really far-fetched. I mean, there are too many migrants, that's clear, but not to that extent.
There may be a problem with migration here and there, but that can be dealt with objectively and not in a populist way with pompous language. Many are lumped together who are poor and honest people with those, and there are many, who take advantage of us. We need to differentiate more.
But when confronted by reporters about his comments, the Chancellor refused to back down.
Anyone who sees it in everyday life knows that I'm right about this comment I made last week. This is not the first time I have said this, and I am not the only person who has said it. There are many people who also see it like this. And once again, ask your children, ask your daughters, ask your friends and people you know. They will all confirm that this is a problem once it gets dark.
On social media, many young women took Merz at his word and offered their own answer to the question of what bothers them about the look and feel of German cities.
Hello, Friedrich. I'm a daughter, and the problem in our cities is racism.
One thing Merz has certainly achieved with his remarks is to spark a heated debate.
DW's Matthew Moore has more on the controversy. Matthew, this debate has been going on for a week now, and especially with the Chancellor doubling down on it, just seems to be gaining more traction, doesn't it?
Well, we see with the protest last night that certain sections of society are really not happy with remarks like this. I think there's a kind of perception of Friedrich Merz that he will speak in blunt terms, that he will basically use populist dog whistles if he thinks that it can help his party to look tougher on some of the issues that, according to polls, really are a concern to German public voters and so on. So, and one of those issues is clearly migration. And so Friedrich Merz has really a history of saying things that for many people would find offensive, but other people at the same time, as we saw in that report, will nod along. So this is something that we've seen with Merz as part of his DNA. He really wants to show that the Conservatives here in Germany have turned a corner. And at the same time, we see criticism. We see broad criticism from some in his own party. We see it from his partners in government, the Social Democrats. And that kind of criticism might make work a little more tricky. And at least, as you say, this debate is gaining traction. The question is, will it die down or will it just continue to fester?
Is there any factual basis for his comments?
I think the problem that Friedrich Merz, about trying to judge that, is the fact that he never said exactly what he meant by this term, problems in the cityscape. So it was really left for people to interpret, for his critics to interpret it as being kind of blatant racism, for his supporters to say, look, he's talking about the things that we see around us when we go to train stations. And I think the implication, especially with his comments last week, when he tied it to deportations, was that there's a group of foreigners who are hanging around the city centres, who make the city less safe at night. And my answer, he said, is to really crack down on deportations. The problem with that, of course, is that groups of men hanging around in city centres often are German citizens or have permanent residency. So it's simply not really accurate, if you like, to say that simply the answer is deportations. At the same time, there is this debate in Germany, Nicole, about violent crime, criminal crime statistics, and the police statistics that they deliver each year have shown that non-Germans are overrepresented in crime statistics. And this is a phenomenon that criminologists attribute to not to origin, but to risk factors that, a lot of the people, the many immigrants in Germany are younger, therefore they're more prone to be involved in crime. They live in urban spaces. There's risk factors like poverty and violent history. So there's a lot of different factors in there. And I think people just would like to see Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor here, be a bit more nuanced in his approach.
Mm-hmm. There also has been criticism about how this data that you mentioned is collected. And I do want to pick up on something you said earlier. You mentioned populist dog whistles. How much is the growing presence of the far-right AfD shaping Germany's debate surrounding migration, including, of course, the Chancellor's efforts to handle it?
Yeah, I mean, this comes on the back of basically a lot of data which shows that the far-right Alternative for Germany party, anti-immigration party that talks about remigration, which is a kind of far-right idea to return Europe to a Europe of white people, essentially, that they are basically neck and neck with his CDU in the polls nationwide. And in key state elections next year, they look like winning relative majorities, potentially being able to govern their first states. And that is the backdrop to Merz's comments. So he's really trying to find a way to fend off the AfD, to win over some of those voters that have, over the past 10 years, have drifted from the Social Democrats, from the centre-right Conservative Party to the AfD, and he's trying to win them back. And so that's what you're seeing here.
That's DW's Matthew Moore. Thank you, Matthew.